Now then, Leeds fans, me too. I know I've not been live for a while, so I thought what a better opportunity to do it than this monumental moment where Leeds United, without kicking a ball, confirmed Premier League survival and confirmed their participation in the Premier League for the 26-27 season. Now, yesterday I thought let me just remove the old WhatsApp in the background. Yesterday I felt like there was a lot of pressure on Leeds United as a whole without us even playing a game. And the reason for that was a lot of people were talking West Ham up into being able to pull out a result yesterday. Now, even though I didn't believe it, I still kind of then had the butterflies and the fear around yesterday. And when Mateus Fernandes went one-on-one with David Raya, if he scores that goal, Leeds United are 4 points behind with Spurs to play tonight, knowing that if Spurs win tonight, we would have then only been 3 points away from safety, with Brighton to come at home, who were going for Champions League football, and West Ham to play away. Now, Leeds United have had such an amount of pressure on them in this running because we knew that we had Spurs and West Ham to play. Now, if we were playing some middling teams within the Premier League, if we had Palace away, if we had, I don't know, throw in a Newcastle in there, couple of games at Wolves and Burnley's, and I know we've played them a little bit earlier, but if we had anybody else other than Spurs and Burnley and we were sat on 43 points, I wouldn't be worried. But because we were in a position where we could still hand them two teams 3 points, it felt like even though we'd got ourselves to a magic number of 43, like we were still in the running until it was mathematically impossible, which is what happened yesterday. Now, the game was so nervy, it was tense, it was so exhilarating to watch as a neutral. And for me, yeah, it'd be. I personally have no skin in the fight, if you like, no dog in the fight with regards to Man City and Arsenal, who wins the Premier League. I don't really care. I know a lot of people will find it funny for Man City to take the title and Arsenal to miss out again, and Arsenal are finishing second in a one-horse race and all this kind of thing. But the truth is, I don't care. And all I saw yesterday of importance for Leeds United was to just see a West Ham loss and we confirm ourselves mathematically safe, which is what happened in the long run. Now, let's quickly discuss the game and the VAR decision and the situation. I thought the game was, like I say, exhilarating. I thought it was tense. I thought it was nervy. I thought Arsenal really should have been out of sight at half-time. They had some great chances. They hit the crossbar twice within the matter of seconds, and they have some other big moments as well. They don't take them. West Ham dug in well. They defended well. They set up, I thought, extremely well did West Ham, even though they should have been behind at half-time. They still did their job, really, in keeping the scoreline to 0-0. Second half, it's a completely different picture. Ben White coming off changed Arsenal. They were chopping and changing the system and the situation. Zubamendi comes on in the first half for Ben White and then gets subbed off after 39 minutes in total. And Arsenal find themselves really having to dig in. But they do what champions do. And fair play to Arsenal. They bring on Martin Odegaard. Quick moment of quality with him and Declan Rice. And they find the back of the net through Leandro Trossard. And I thought it was a great goal in the circumstances. And then we build into what happens late in that game. What happens late in that game is probably the biggest VAR decision, the biggest VAR moment we've seen. And even though it took them a while to get there, I think they made the right decision. Now, it's easy when you're in the West Ham camp to scream blue murder this way. It's easy when you're in the Arsenal camp to scream blue murder this way. When you are a little bit more impartial, I think you're able to see the light a little bit easier. I think you're able to see the wood from the trees a little bit more. And the truth is, it's Pablo in there. Pablo, he's contesting with the keeper. I'm not a great fan of anything where the keeper's involved. It's a foul. I don't agree with that. But he has got his arm across David Raya. His arm is then basically holding the keeper's left arm. You can't do that. And it's a foul. And I think that is exactly why VAR is there. The referee cannot be expected to see that in the midst of everything going on. There's about 5 fouls going on. But ultimately, as has been said by a lot of the pundits and the media, that is the first one in category order, in a chronological order. That is the first offence. So that's the decision that has to be made. And Callum Wilson took it away brilliantly. Scenes at the London City Stadium, they think that they've got an unbelievably vital point, and then it's stripped away from them. Now, the argument will rumble on forever as to whether VAR is good for football or not. Personally, I would strip it all away and let the referees and the officials make the decisions. I think it has made referees weaker than ever before. I genuinely do think that. There's two decisions in the Fulham game, the Fulham versus Bournemouth game, of which the referee should be able to easily give red cards in the motion of play. They're not difficult decisions. But the referee knows that if he makes a big decision that is then considered wrong, he will have the opportunity to get away with it via VAR. Now, you could argue that that isn't a problem. I personally see it as it is a problem because it allows the referees to referee and officiate the game weak. And it stops them being held accountable for making the decisions, and then it forces VAR into it, and then you have a whole host of other angles and situations that come with that. The referees still need to referee the game as if VAR isn't there, but in the Fulham Bournemouth game they don't. In this situation, I think they do. I think both the referee and the VAR dealt with it well yesterday. Now, a lot of fans are saying, well, why did it take so long to make a decision? If there's not reasonable doubt, or whatever the term is, if it's not an obvious error, that's it, isn't it? It's not an obvious error. Why haven't they come to the decision quicker? There's an argument to say that that's fair. However, the human beings who know that this decision is absolutely massive. It has huge repercussions on the Premier League title. It has huge repercussions on the relegation battle. I mean, the decision alone turns Leeds and Forest from being safe to not being safe. So it makes a massive, massive impact at both ends of the table. So for that reason, the referees and the VAR, they need to take the time to get it right. And I accept that. If that was in any other game during the weekend, or any other circumstance during the weekend, if that was in the Newcastle versus Forest game, as an example, I don't think it takes that long. So, yeah, I think ultimately they get to the right decision. So, let's move on very quickly to talk about tonight. I think this is a huge opportunity to enjoy the Premier League now for Leeds United, especially Leeds United fans who, at the best of times, love to stress. And I've been pushing the narrative all season that we've been playing well, we've deserved more than we've got, and that we would be safe. And all of them things have proven to be true, which I'm delighted for, because all I care about is Leeds United doing well. That's ultimately all I care about. So I'm glad to see that that's been proven the case, and I think for tonight, Leeds United are allowed to go into this game with the shackles off, and I think we're going to see some performance tonight. I hope I'm right, because I was very critical of the Aston Villa performance last weekend when they rotated some players out of that team. I thought the performance against Spurs was a disgrace. Now, the media, for some reason, are talking this into being a bit of a gimme for Spurs, and I couldn't disagree more. They've not won a home game since December. They've not won a home game in 5 months. They are the worst team in the whole division at home. Now, that doesn't change overnight. Now, sure, they might have a little bit of momentum because of the back-to-back wins, but they beat an incredibly poor Wolves team, and they only just got over the line in that. And then they beat Villa in my opinion, what's the worst home performance I've ever seen from a Premier League side. I thought Villa were an absolute disgrace. So I think Leeds United turn up into this, and I don't know whether you can make them favourites given that they're away from home, but I think Leeds are going to cause Spurs an absolute nightmare tonight. I hope I'm right, because I want to see Spurs go down, to be honest, just because of the narrative. I'd like to see West Ham stay up, because from a Leeds perspective, I think it's better for us next season. I think Spurs will recover and won't be in this situation next season under De Zerbi if they're a Premier League outfit, whereas I see West Ham being down towards the bottom of the table. So I think it makes a better Premier League experience for Leeds United having West Ham in it next season as we look to re-establish ourselves. Again, Season 2 is going to be difficult. The second season syndrome is proven to be real. I do think there is a certain momentum shift I think the recruitment for season 2 can be really difficult as well, as we've experienced ourselves. So West Ham being in the Premier League makes more sense for me. So I would love to see Spurs go down, and I want us to also finish as high as possible this season. I've said all season I think we deserve to be in front of Sunderland. Still think that's the case, and I would love to see us then put ourselves in a position where we can go into the last 2 games of the season with that still being a possibility. So we don't have Noah Okafor tonight. Gabby Goodmanson's expected to miss a game as well. That does weaken us on the left-hand side, but I think the shift in pressure, the alleviation of them kind of tensions, we can go in there and just express ourselves in this game. We outrun every team that we play. That is a characteristic of this side, and I believe that Daniel Farke and the team will really want to go and make a statement in this game. I think they'll have seen the media narrative that we're expected to just turn up and roll over because we're now safe. I don't see that happening. So I'm going to predict a Leeds United 2, Spurs 1 result for tonight. I'm going out there. I think we go there and get the 3 points, and I think Spurs then will lose at Stamford Bridge, giving West Ham the opportunity to beat Newcastle and be out of the bottom 3 going into the last game of the season. Now, I have predicted that Spurs will go down for the last 3 months, and up until the Villa game, it was looking like that was going to be pretty much the case, and I think everybody has kind of been shifting over to the other side of the fence, and I can understand that reason for why. If I had to put my house on the line right now, I would probably predict West Ham as well, because going up to Newcastle for their last home game of the season will be tricky. But I think if Leeds beat Spurs tonight and Spurs lose, I think West Ham will have a shift in momentum. And then they know they're going into a home game against Leeds to stay up on the last game of the season, which I don't think will be easy, by the way, but I do think it's easier than Spurs playing Everton. So I think it's a super poise, and if Leeds get the win tonight, which I think we will, I think we're going to see a final day shootout between Spurs and West Ham, and I think West Ham might be in pole position to stay up going into the last game of the season if Leeds United win tonight. So I hope Leeds United do the job for the Hammers. Finally, before I finish on this quick stream, and in the lives I don't expect too much in terms of viewership and comments, etc. But if you are ever watching these videos, or if you are watching them after the matter, please do drop a like and a comment, subscribe to the channel. I do really want to see this take off, and I want to give you some straight talking Leeds. That is me, that is what I'm about. I will say it as I see it. I don't do anything for clickbait, I don't do anything for a rise, I don't do anything to rage bait. You will just get it straight from me, and I will always try and bring an element of positivity where I see it, but it all comes from trying to strip back the emotion a little bit and just being real, straight talking Leeds. So please do like, subscribe and comment on the videos, whether you're watching live or watching after. I just want to finish on giving this man here, the other way, mirror image, a little bit of props. I've been a big fan of his all season. Now, a little bit of a caveat to this. Or context if you like, when Leeds United missed out on promotion to the Premier League at Wembley against Southampton, I was there that day, and in the car journey home, I spoke to my good friend Brownie, who, you know, I'm part of the West Yorkshire Football Show. Go check them out as well. I spoke to him about the future under Daniel Farke, and me and him both agreed that we would be very happy if, with the emotion, it has to be said, if Leeds United alleviated Daniel Farke of his duties, relieved him of his duties, not alleviated, relieved him of his duties, and we were to go and get someone else. And that was based on a few different things, but it was mostly based on the fact that we didn't beat Southampton in 3 games. He got some things wrong throughout the season. The football at times was seen as limited. There was things that I weren't happy with, and it all kind of culminated in that last game of the season. Time proved us wrong, and I was proved very wrong very quickly, in my opinion, going into season 2 of the Championship under Daniel Farke. Excuse me. We very quickly saw an evolution of that team. We saw a season in which we lost Joe Rutter, we lost Chris Somerville, we lost Archie Gray. Glenn Kamara came out, who was a huge part of that team, played 46 games out of 46. But what I saw in season 2 was an evolution of Daniel Farke's football. He didn't just play 4-2-3-1, as the casual fan would just suggest. It weren't the same football. The system changed. The attacking build-up changed. We didn't just rely on one side like we had done previously with Chris Somerville. It wasn't just given to Manor Solomon and Shalat. It was given down both sides. The full-backs were far more important in a way that they weren't the previous season. We built a team which could then bring goals from all different areas of the team. He shifted Joe Perreault's importance in the team. He got his striker in positions that we didn't get in before. Brendan Aronson came back in and changed the sides in ways that improved us on the season before, and that seems crazy to think when you said that we had Gio Rutter the year before, who's so much more talented and so much more creative than Brendan Aronson, but it allowed us to do things in different ways, and I started to see things differently. I enjoy the control that Daniel Farke Ball gave us in the Championship, and we've seen a lot of them elements this season as well. Now, building into this season, he gets us promoted on a record 100 points as well, by the way. That just kind of gets skirted over. Now, as it stands, we're 23 points, or 22 because Burnley got a point of the weekend, better off than the team that we finished level on points with on 100 points last season. They've already been relegated. They were relegated weeks ago, months ago, really, in fact. Daniel Farke's done that. The recruitment team's done that. And Daniel Farke has then again shown this season that he's capable of adjusting and reapplying himself. I think his man management ability is absolutely spot on. The way that he's been able to keep the momentum and the confidence and the mentality of this team high all season doesn't get enough credit, and it deserves way more credit, in fact. So I think he's elevated himself into being a serious Premier League manager. Now, is he top echelon, top 6? No. Is he in the bunch of the remaining 13? Yeah, he is. He's absolutely up there. He's distilled all these narratives that have been written about Daniel Farke, about him being a Championship manager. He's a Premier League manager. So many Premier League, newly promoted Premier League teams get instantly relegated, and we'll see it again next season. The likelihood is that Coventry, Ipswich, and whoever else comes up from the playoffs will go straight back down. That is a very high likelihood. He's booked that trend, and he's booked that trend with bells on, because the truth is, he probably deserves another 6 or 7 points on the board as a minimum. So I just think we have to give Daniel Farke all the credit in the world. He's dispelled all of the narratives. He's dealt with dealing with Leeds United, because Leeds United is a massive job, especially in the Premier League. You know, so many managers came before Daniel Farke and failed in terms of getting promoted. He didn't. He got it done. Yeah, the second time of asking, but even the first time of asking weren't bad. Finishing third on over 90 points is, you know, yeah, we got the 90-point trophy and all that, but still, it matters. You know, go and have a look at the Championship and see where 90 points finishes as this season. I think it finishes as top. It certainly gets a second. So, I just think he deserves all the credit. And him and the players and the recruitment and the you know, the board as well, the owners have been under a big microscope this year. They've nailed it. The signings of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Lucas Metra on free transfers, genius in hindsight. When we're looking at it now at the end of the season, absolute genius. The signings of Jacobiol, Anton Stack, brilliant. Experience of the likes of Sean Longstaff, you know, coming in and giving us that extra. James Justin, what a signing. What a signing James Justin's been. So, yeah, all the credit to all the people involved, and what a position that we now put ourselves in to re-establish ourselves as a proper force in the Premier League. So, I'm delighted. This season was all about staying up. Whatever that looked like, even if it was goal difference on the last game of the season, it would have been enough for me to say a massive success, and we've done that again, like I say, with bells on. So thank you, Daniel Farke. Thank you, 49ers. Thank you, Leeds United. Thank you, the players. So much to look forward to now and enjoy over the summer, no more so than a World Cup. But we can actually look forward to transfers coming in. I'm sure that the 49ers will get the recruitment right for second season to see us develop and evolve. And I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like. But we're back on the top table, and we have now gone some way to establishing ourselves back in there as a mathematical security now. So I'm looking forward to tonight. Up the boys. I hope Leeds get it done tonight. 2-1, that's my prediction. Let me know your prediction in the comments. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching. And if you're watching it, like I say, at a later date, drop a comment. I'll see them all. I'll respond to them all. Drop a like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next show. Peace.